the legislative meeting to order. And so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which I will deliver as Ms. Haywood is not present won't be present for this meeting. So can we stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, justice for all. Okay, Mr. Swigart will provide the roll call.
Mr. Burdell-Williams?
Present.
Mr. Cohen?
Present.
Mr. Epps?
Present.
Mr. Fishbein?
Present.
Ms. Henry?
Present.
Ms. Mulhern?
Present.
Or will not be present.
No, I am present.
Miss. Sorry. No, and that's who it is Mr. Schultz and Ms. Slowman will not be present for this meeting.
And Haywood.
And Ms. Haywood, yes. Dr. Scriven will provide his superintendent's report.
So good evening, and I'd like to officially welcome everybody back. We are now transitioning out of summer mode into school mode, and that's very exciting. So if you could give your attention to the screen, and I want to thank Mr. David for transitioning the slides for me. We can go to the next slide. Just wanted to give the board an update. One thing that I've been struggling with a little bit as superintendent is how do I reconnect with students. I feel that there's a disconnect from that standpoint. So I'm looking at initiating a superintendent student advisory council. And as you can see, the purpose of that council is really to give students a voice in terms of being leaders and taking ownership for what the change process in the district should look like. I was really torn with where to start, and everything is always in draft mode. So I'm only going to go down, and you can go to the next slide. I'm only going to go down to sixth grade. I'm going to do 6 through 12. Because I just feel that I need to touch EP, definitely the middle school and also the high school. So there is going to be an application process that everyone will be able to complete if interested. And I didn't put any criteria like GPA. I did not want to roll students out because they did not have a certain GPA. That is actually one of the voices that I want to hear from. So I want to be very forthright with you with respect to that. Goals of the Superintendent's Council are bulleted there for your review. But really, it's not going to be a top-down model. It is not going to be me driving the agenda. It is going to be me meeting with the council to establish what they feel the agenda should be in their respective schoolhouses. So there will be a separate sub-council by level. One at EP, which will consist of the 6th grade, one at the middle school, Cedarbrook, which will consist of 7th and 8th, and then one at the high school that would be 9 through 12. Again, I'm looking for a cross-pollination of what our district really represents. Mission, I really want to engage students, and I want to empower students to empower their peers. And I'm excited because I have no idea where this can go. And I will be giving you guys updates as we move through the process. I'm going to have it's not going to be quarterly. It will be 3 lunches, which I'm going to actually have the council set up by level. So I want to have a luncheon at EP with a set agenda where we just have some real talk and dialogue about how do we move EP forward. I'm going to do the same at the middle. I'm going to do the same at the high school. So there will be elected officials at each level. But like I said, I want to keep it separate. I don't want to necessarily have 6 graders meeting with 12th graders. It's for me, that's not going to be productive. And that's why I have it separated by each level at the intermediate, which is what I would call 6, and then at the secondary level with the middle and with the high school. I myself, Dr. Smith may have to step in or whomever I so designate, but we will be the sponsors specifically of this council. The luncheons I already referenced to you in terms of how that would be structured. The benefits, this is something kids will be able to put on their resume. This will be an opportunity for us to build capacity in our students and for our students to build capacity in others. This is going to be an opportunity for team building. I'm going to go through Robert's rules of order for them in terms of how we will govern our meetings. And I'm excited to have them come out and report to you guys as a board by level at some point of the year as we progress. I simply want you as a board to keep an open mind. This is going to be a new initiative, but I think that it holds great potential in unlocking things that we need to afford our students to have an opportunity to do. It's not always presented. I know we have student governments at the schools, and this is a different flavor. This is something that I'm doing on a bigger level to really stay in tune to what is working well, to what's not working well, and help them facilitate what their changes that they identify in terms of priority needs will look like. And very short and sweet, like I hope all of our reports will be tonight. That concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scriven, and this sounds like a really important and meaningful addition. Student voice is really, really important. Solicitor's report, Mr. Diazio.
Thank you. No report this evening. There have been no executive sessions since the last public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have public comments on agenda items only. If you're in the audience and would like to speak, you can step to the podium, announce your name and where you reside in the district. If you are otherwise online via Zoom, you can raise your hand and you will be unmuted. If you are watching via one of our streaming channels, you can email CSD board meeting comments at cheltenham.org your comment on agenda items only. And Kevin, you can let me know if there's anybody. I'm so surprised. No. Next, we will move to our committee reports. For financial affairs, there was no meeting held since our last legislative meeting, and our next facilities meeting will be Tuesday, September 5th at 7 o'clock. That concludes my report. Educational affairs, Ms. Mulhern will provide that report.
Thank you. The final Educational Affairs Committee meeting of the 2022-23 school year convened in person and via Zoom on Wednesday, June 14th. During this meeting, we received an update on the district's new strategic plan. This strategic plan was only adopted in March, but the teams have hit the ground running. For each of the 7 pillars or goals, co-chairs or a representative shared the actions that have been taken so far and what the next steps are. Going forward, there will be a status report presentation on the plan in December and in June at the Educational Affairs meetings, with written updates in September and February. Overseen by Dr. Smith, the strategic planning internal leadership team will meet once a week for year 1 to track progress, work together, look for where their pillars intersect and where we can work together, things like that. The next Educational Affairs Committee and the first of the new academic year will be on Tuesday, September 19th at 7 p.m. in person and via Zoom. The presentation will include the schedule of meeting topics for the upcoming year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern. Eastern Center for Arts and Technology, Mr. Burdell Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The Eastern Center for Arts and Technology June Joint Operating Committee meeting had 2 pretty important things that I do want to cover tonight. One, first and foremost, our June Student of the Month was Mr. Brian Smith from Upper Moreland High School. He is in the Eastern Center Arts and Technology program for exercise science and rehabilitation, which is one of Eastern's very new programs. Just some words from his teacher. Brian has a passion for the field and pushes himself to be his best. He genuinely wants to help people, which will make him an outstanding medical professional. I'm immensely proud of all of his accomplishments and cannot wait to see what his future holds. After Eastern and finishing at Upper Moreland High School, Brian will be attending the University of Pittsburgh, where he will pursue a major in biology and a minor in kinesiology. After completing his undergraduate studies, he plans to attend medical school to become a doctor in physical medicine. Additionally, just one acknowledgement, actually I'll call them 2 acknowledgements. The first is for the new superintendent of record, Dr. Scott Davidheiser of Lower Moreland School District. He was approved by the Joint Operating Committee for a 2-year term, and also then we'll share an acknowledgement for the last 2 years as superintendent of record from Dr. Jill Takis of Jenkintown for her service from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2023. For the knowledge of the public, the superintendent of record is the senior most superintendent of the 9 sending districts that all send students to the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology. The next meeting for the Eastern Center for Arts and Technology Joint Operating Committee will be tomorrow, August 9th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. The link to the full report for the June meeting, as well as for the Zoom link for tomorrow's meeting, can be found on Eastern's website at eastech.org. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. We will not have a report from Ms. Lohman from the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, as she is not present. Facilities, is a report, Mr. Burdell Williams?
Yep, the Facilities Committee has not met since our last legislative meeting. The next facilities meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 5th at 7 p.m. following agenda build and prior to the meeting of the Finance Committee. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. Liaison Group report will be provided by Mr. Cohen.
Yes, thank you. The Township School District Liaison Group met on June 26th. There are a number of items that were discussed. The potential installation of speed cushions on streets around elementary schools and high school parking lots, and that's a traffic calming device. That was just for discussion purposes. Nothing is in the works right now. Next, there was discussion on school crossing guards. The township is in need of school crossing guards. I encourage anybody interested to reach out to the township for the positions, and you'll be fulfilling a very good need in the township. There was also an update on the bus patrol camera program, and that's ready to go, I believe, this coming school year. And that's a program where the buses are going to be, have cameras on them to identify drivers that drive past school buses illegally. And that's being coordinated with the township and the police department. Next is the pending removal of a traffic light at Mill, Montgomery, Surrey, and Windsor near Myers Elementary. And that was due to a process where PennDOT had to be engaged for any potential changes in the traffic light. And they determined that the traffic light was no longer warranted. The township's working to try to put in stop signs and also markings to try to make sure that that intersection remains safe going forward. There was then a discussion about updating the school lunch program for children over the summer and an update on summer programming for the school district. There was a brief mention of Communities That Care, a parent cafe that occurred. There was a thank you by the township to the district for allowing the township to participate in the branding effort. Also, there was an acknowledgement for Dr. Scriven's commitment to breaking down the opportunity achievement gap. And under new business, the Conklin Pool was discussed. And the next meeting of the liaison group is scheduled for 8 a.m. on August 21st by Zoom. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Epps will provide the policy committee update.
Thank you, Madam President. We did not meet since the last June legislative meeting. Our next meeting will be August 29th at 7 p.m. here at the Administration Building and streamed via online. And as a reminder, this session, the Policy Committee will take a schedule of every other month. Another nod to the diligence that this administration and support has shown over the years, but if you're following our schedule, we'll go every other month starting this session. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. And you are up for a legislative update.
Yep. Thank you again. I'm a member of the Montgomery County Legislative Committee, and so we meet periodically to discuss legislation that is either proposed or adopted that affects education throughout our Commonwealth and here in Cheltenham. Really the biggest topic of discussion right now is the Pennsylvania budget. There was progress and movement, as many have been following, where the Senate came back into session. There was some disagreement over funding of school vouchers, and the governor had, as he promised, vetoed that line item in the budget. But overall, they were able to come to agreement around about a $45 billion budget. About 85% of that will be able to be spent. Now the legislator needs to agree on school codes, like our school code. Something that is very exciting for Cheltenham and other districts is the cyber charter reform. The House of Representatives did take some action to pass a bill that would, among other things, set some tuition standards for cyber charters. That's something that would result in about a little under $1 million savings a year for Cheltenham School District. So that is very positive news in terms of a budget being signed, and school districts will be able to receive their funding, and also hopefully we will receive more positive updates around the school code and other legal matters that affect us. We will convene again. I think there's a question before I close, or yeah.
I have an understanding that there was a pretty substantial increase in both special education. Thank you, Madam President. I should have known after 8 years on the board to put on my mic. Thank you. That the funding increased in both for special ed and general education. Do we have a sense of how much we'll get? Our increase will be.
There's about $1 million in basic educational funding subsidy and special education subsidy through the budget.
So a total of $1 million saved and $1 million added, that's a $2 million delta to the positive for next year's budget.
If it all makes it across the finish line.
Great,
Correct.
thank you.
Thanks for adding that. And I will add, in this recent agreement, education received more funding than what was already. There was a proposed increase, and through the agreement, there was actually a bit more that was added to the education budget. So thanks for adding that point. That'll conclude my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. We will now move to the consent agenda. Before we, we'll take a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Before we move to a vote, I want to open the floor up for comments from the board. Yes, Mr. Epps.
Thank you. We are voting on new leadership at an elementary school tonight, and so I want to applaud our administration for diligence from our administration for searching for a leader for our elementary school, and the Ms. Junod, reputation certainly precedes her. In my time at the School District of Philadelphia, there was a school redesign effort that was underway, and Mitchell was one of the schools that was going through redesign. And so in just about a year's time, so many good things were happening that we were like, oh, we've got to get the superintendent over there. And so it was, that's when I started to learn about some of the work that was happening at Mitchell, because the superintendent just had to get there to see what was going on. And so I'm certainly excited to see what can come about when we have a good merge of a strong cultural, strong instructional lead, and really seeking after what resources are needed for students, how to get those resources, and then leverage those resources into results. So I'm very excited about the potential of leadership and our teachers and the team there at Cheltenham.
And we did have the opportunity to meet Ms. Junod earlier this evening, and I want to welcome her to our school district. We do have an announcement about her start date.
Yes, the agenda, just for purposes of information for the public, the agenda reflects currently a to-be-determined start date for Ms. Junod, and I understand that through the Human Resources Office, we have been able to confirm a start date for this coming Monday, August 14th. So the board's approval this evening will be effective August 14th.
Any other comments? All right, so we'll move to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries for the approval.
Give Mr. Nod an opportunity to come to the podium.
Yes, and I would like to give Mr. Knott an opportunity to come to the, you probably didn't even know this, did you? So we're putting you on the spot again. And just, yeah, have a moment to speak.
Is that it? No? Yes? Okay. Hi. So I'm officially a dolphin. I'm very excited about this. Very, very exciting. So thank you for that warm and generous welcome. I am you'll never have to question my excitement. If anything, I try to tone it down just a smidgen. But just very much looking forward to being here. I was so impressed just looking over the 3-year plan and getting to know everything that I was able to find online, and having grown up very close to Cheltenham in Philadelphia. Just really, really honored to be here, very humbled to be here. Hope to live up to, hope I have the same energy that you knew of 8 years ago and heard about. Looking forward to that. And just being able to support the wonderful work that is already being done in Cheltenham Elementary, and see what are those just next level things that we can put in place together to showcase the amazing talent that our students have. Because I know as a mother myself that they are sending us their best and brightest children, and it is the most important thing in their lives. And I am just so humbled to be trusted to keep children in safe care and to build them up socially and academically as much as possible, and to do that through service and through service to the teachers, because we know the teacher standing in front of the child is the most important predictor of that success. So I'm very excited to be a dolphin. I'll be buying lots of dolphin swag on Amazon tonight, and just looking forward to being part of the family, and thank you for welcoming me.
Okay, we are moving to public comment on non-agenda items. As mentioned, anybody in the audience could come up and speak. If we have, do we have any folks in the Zoom room at all? Okay. All right, there were no prior public questions from our last legislative meeting. Our future meetings are listed on the agenda with one update, that the liaison meeting is on August 21st and not August 29th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.